Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Ghettofabulous Kings of War. It's been a while, but thankfully we're back in the swing of things. I've got another game in against one of my regular local opponents, my nemesis, the Elf army with, he mixes in between shooting and lots of alpha strikey kind of stuff. I'm still messing around with a very slow elemental heavy army list. It's got lots of heal. That's kind of the mitigating, the method for mitigating shooting. And I'm playing around with Surge. Again, I've been messing with this army for almost a year now. It's the first Surge army I've ever run, so I'm still trying to figure out the nuance there. I was at a tournament, was it December or January? I can't remember now. In Missouri. I think it must have been December. I had special characters, and I used that to counter one of my vulnerabilities of being slow. I can get alpha struck pretty easily. So I had one of my druids with Scorched Earth. There was a special character you could take that had Scorched Earth. And I took Karis instead of a third druid that had a disordered attack, so you could disorder cavalry and things. So theoretically, I was hoping between all of that I could counter some of that alpha strike speed threat. It worked okay. My first two fights, I almost basically very close to tabling my opponents, kind of maxed out my score. And then I was playing with the top level table players. I lost both my games, but they were very close and bloody, but I did lose them. And then my fifth game was a draw. So peaked high and then kind of leveled out at the end. So with this not being an option, one Scorched Earth isn't going to be enough. So instead, I've added a Pegasus for fast chaff. I don't know if one Pegasus is going to be enough, but we'll see. So this is what we're down to for this run, this latest iteration. 3 regiments of Earth Elementals, my kind of fat chaff. 130 points, dash 15 nerve, defense 6, and while they don't hit super hard, they reliably put out a wound or two, and they have brutal, which helps finish things off when one of these hordes of 4 fire elementals charges in. I had a few points left over. I figured I might as well give one the Helm of the Drunken Ram, so ideally he's wounding on 2s against most opponents, and he has Vicious, so not a bad item for him. 3 greater fire elementals, the Pegasus I mentioned earlier, and then 3 Gladewalker druids. 1, the super druid with the Crown of the Wizard King, the Ring of Harmony, heal 4 and surge 8. 1 with the Shroud of the Saint, boosting it up to heal 6. And 1 with the Conjurer Staff, heal 4 and surge 8 as well. Typically I haven't had 2 surge sources before, so that's kind of a change. We'll see if that's effective or not. I am playing against, it says Empire of Dust, but I'm actually playing against Elves. I could go back and edit that, but this is a Ghettofabulous, so we'll drive on. Here's the Elf list, though, and I think I'm 99% there. There's probably a few points here that I'm not 100% on, but he had a Horde of Sea Guard with the Hammer of Measured Force, 2 regiments of Glade Stalkers, so he's got a decent shooty core in the middle, a regiment of Palace Guard, regiment of Stormwind Cavalry with the Quicksilver upgrade and the Brew of Strength, the Horde of Dracon Riders with Jesse's Boots, 2 troops of Silver Breeze, a regiment of Battle Cat, so you can see he's got a shooty core, he's got some fast flankers, or alpha strikers, however he sets them up, with some shooting and screening. He's got an Elf King with the Shard Blade on a horse, an Archmage with Lightning, Inspiring Talisman, yep, I was trying to think if he had the Boomstick, but nope, Inspiring Talisman. At one point he cast Bane Chance, so he must have had that one as well. Elven Archmage on a horse with Alchemist's Curse. I don't remember what his other spells were, but that one came into play because I've got a lot of Earth Elementals. And a Lord on Dracon with the Hex Wand. So, kind of similar to mine, fairly small, fairly elite. I forgot to take a picture of the board with just the terrain on it. Instead of units on it, it's kind of cluttered. So I thought if I put these images, it would make it easier to focus on the terrain. I don't think that's the case anymore. But either way, we get an idea of what the terrain looks like. So we got a couple hills, a couple forests, 3 pieces of impassable terrain, a couple walls, and a little swamp, flat, difficult terrain over here. The scenario was Pillage. I think I set up above. And we ended up rolling 6 objectives. That's these stars here. And while we were placing objectives, he was placing them pretty much in the middle, and I was very happy to play along and cooperate. My army is slow. I don't have a lot of units, and certainly not units that I can spare to go run off and hold objectives. So keeping things centered and clumped closely together is what I want. So this is the only one that's a problem for me, way over here. Other than that, everything else, all 5 of these are in play. I originally won the roll-off to pick side, and when I was initially thinking I was going to grab this top half, and there's forests and stuff here that I could charge into. I'm pushing, and there's already a couple objectives in my area, and I could push and grab the rest. And then at the last second, I changed my mind, as I often do, and doesn't always work out for me. But realistically, I thought this bottom half is probably better. I can advance into more objectives, I think. Between the hill and the forest, I'm going to screen most of his shooting out. If he wants to advance at me, he's going to have to charge into the forest. He's only got 1 unit with Pathfinder, I think. What else? Oh, I've got these 2 impassable buildings on my flanks, so that should help screen me against his, however he's going to set up his flankers. Which, as you can see from this, his deployment picture, he split between his Dracon Riders and his cavalry. But either way, I've got things anchoring my flanks. I've got things screening me from shooting. I can advance just a little bit and already have 3 objectives. So I thought that was okay. So deployment, you could already see it, but it went kind of like I expected. I wasn't sure if he was going to have 1 heavy flank with speed and power, or if he's going to split it. He ended up splitting it, and again, shooting in the middle. You can see the Sea Guard horde here. These little units with trees are the Glade Stalkers, Palace Guard, Battle Cats, Wizards in the middle here, and the Dracon Rider. So, what I basically expected, I'm kind of across the middle here, a little bit more in depth, and especially on the left. So, as his flyers come around, if he tries to fly behind me or get somewhere, I'll have depth where I can surge and shut him down, hopefully. So I'm kind of wanting to split between anchoring on this side and moving up to this hill. Not quite like this blue, maybe a little bit further up, but kind of anchoring and shielding behind this hill and just kind of seeing where he goes. I have 3 greater fire elementals here in the middle. They'll have Fireball 8, and there's some soft targets that are going to be moving nearby, so hopefully that will be useful. And again, I've got plenty of cover and heal, so hopefully that'll help with dealing with all this ranged he's going to throw my way. That's the plan, at least. We'll see how it works. So he won the first turn roll. He took it. And let's see. Everything... he moved his scout moves and moved forward. I don't have a lot of shooting, so he wasn't really concerned. And he wanted to move forward so he could easily shoot at me. So, let's see. This little pond over here, actually, he couldn't march or run his cavalry through, so it stopped them. It kind of stopped the Dracon Riders a little bit, so it slowed them down a bit. These guys, they didn't move up as far as they could because they were concerned about getting too close to this greater fire elemental. Other than that, pretty much normal. This is his Alchemist Curse Wizard. He ran him up behind the forest, so I couldn't draw a line of sight. He'd be out of range for charges from my units, but he would be within 12 inches to throw Alchemist Curse at this regiment of Earth Elementals here in the front. They'd have cover, because you can only see a little bit of them, but he was hoping to get that shot off, but keep him safe from being charged. And let's see here. He did put a lot of wounds, 7 wounds between the Sea Guard, Gladestalkers, Lightning, and the Alchemist's Curse. But 7 wounds on these guys, and they're dash 15, so an 8 would have killed him. He thankfully did not. And he put a few wounds on these guys with probably the other Gladestalkers and the Silver Breeze Cavalry here. And then he hexed my heal 6 druid who's hiding over here. Not great, but we'll see where it goes from there. Ultimately, I think I can get that guy. I have 2 sources of surge now, and he's tall, so this... Oh, I guess I can... This is my heal 6 one. Obviously, my super druid's in the middle with range 18 for friendly spells. Can cover everything. And this one has the heal for surge 8. I had the one with the surge on the left here because the flyers were on this side, and I figured there was a bigger chance of them getting behind my lines or needing surge as opposed to over here where it's cavalry that can't get behind me as easily. Since this greater fire elemental is tall, she can surge, and then my super druid here in the middle can also surge if needed. This one, I'm not going to try to surge them both, but they can both move forward, as they did, fireball it, and then charge in. So I think that's a good combo there. Since that one's hexed, and I'm doing 2 surges, I only have this one using the Ring of Harmony to cast heal 4. So... Healing's limited a bit, but if we're going to shut down a lot of shooting, maybe it'll be enough. So we do several wounds on that wizard from Fireball, and then the Greater Fire Elemental does take it out. I figured there's not going to be too much shooting on these Earth Elementals here, and I don't think they're going to try to charge into them. So I didn't heal them. I healed these guys back up. Got 2 off, so... hopefully that'll be enough to help them survive one more turn. After he killed the wizard, ducked back into the woods just to get cover. I'm still close to these guys, so we'll see what they decide to do. And they don't do too much. Well, these guys here don't. They stay and just keep shooting, plinking away. The Silver Breeze on the right here flies up the flank and pivots. These guys toe onto the hill so they can see, and then they just kind of look. These guys are biding their time, moving up a bit. And then on the left flank here as well, the Dracon Riders move up to look down the flank, while the Silver Breeze moves up and starts working his way around as well. If you've seen the movie Zulu, they talk about the bull, the horns of the bull, the loins of the bull. I don't know if I'm supposed to be going into it or if they're just going to envelop me. But either way, the double envelopment is starting, which is pretty typical when I play this army. Shooting puts a couple more wounds back on these Earth Elementals, but they managed to hold. I moved my Druid behind the Pegasus, but it doesn't matter. Even if I was behind the Greater Fire Elemental, his Dracon Lord is on the hill, so he's taller than everything. So he's just going to keep hexing my heal 6 Druid, which is great. But ultimately, no casualties, just a few wounds there, so not too bad a turn for me, although I am starting to get enveloped already on turn 2. So, what do we do on this turn? He's put me a bit of a pickle, so I have to force him to making the uncomfortable charges. So, this group of Gladestalkers is within charge range of my Greater Fire Elemental. So I take the charge, and they are outside the charge angle of the Palace Guard here, outside the charge angle of this group. These guys aren't injured at all, I don't think. So I don't expect to kill them in 1 turn, but hopefully in 2 I can. If I charge my Pegasus in over here, I can jam this cavalry unit up for a turn. The fire elementals here move up. They block a lot of the flank and charge options for the Silver Breeze here. They can't get to the side of these guys anymore. They can't get to the rear of these Earth Elementals because they're too wide, and this character, who they can't draw a line of sight to, is blocking. They can't fit in there. So all in all, I think I've shut these guys down pretty effectively. The right flank, at least for this turn, is in pretty good shape. I think this Dracon Rider Lord could charge into the flank here. I don't know if I think it was probably a flank. He can get a flank, and the Silver Breeze could get a front charge, but it's hindered. I don't think that's going to be enough to kill these guys. I don't think he's going to want to do that. On the left flank, we just move up kind of again behind the hill. I figure he's going to front charge somebody with these Dracon Riders, and then I will be able to counter charge with something else. Anything else? Oh, I move this guy up. I move this guy up so they can fireball, and hopefully plink a few wounds off. And we'll see how it goes. And it goes pretty well, actually. 4 wounds on these guys, not bad. These Battle Cats only defense 2. So they took, I think he hit with maybe 4 of his fireballs, and then they all wounded, and these guys shattering, and they've got pretty crappy nerves. So he wiped out the Battle Cats. Decent number of wounds there, decent number of wounds here. Lots of healing. I didn't do any surge, so my super druid here could heal twice, and then this one could heal once. So we're quickly moving back to where we need to be. My Pegasus here failed to wound at all against this cavalry unit. Ultimately, it was going to die anyway. It's got crap nerve, they've got the Brew of Strength, and it's not inspired. So it was going to die anyway, but I didn't even get a free wound out of the deal, so a little sad. As hoped, this forced the Elves to kind of commit. They didn't want to sit around for one more turn and wait, so they've gone all in. The Dracon Riders take this charge. The king could have charged this fire elemental unit, but it was in the flank and he could fit, and he wanted to block the fire elementals. So instead, he moves in front of them an inch away and just blocks them because he's mighty, so they can't charge these Dracon Riders if they fail to kill, or even if they do kill. But especially if they fail in this charge here, he doesn't want them getting flanked by these fire elementals. So he charges in the block. They charge in the front. Silver Breeze come around the flank. I did not. I saw that I was in range for these Glade Stalkers that were here with my Greater Fire Elemental. I did not realize I was in range for the Horde of Sea Guard with the Hammer of Measured Force. So they charge into my Greater Fire Elemental, which is not great. It jams up my Earth Elemental Regiment that's here. So not good. This is not the ideal matchup for a Greater Fire Elemental. A frontal assault into a horde of infantry. But he takes this Gladestalker unit. He charges into the Fire Elemental horde here. I think just again to hold them up for a turn, because this is not an ideal charge for them. And then he combo charges his Dracon Rider and Palace Guard into this Greater Fire Elemental. And that's where this Inspiring Wizard came over and cast Banechant on them, which suddenly 12 attacks, hitting on 3s with Elite, with Crushing 2 now, that can actually put quite a few wounds out. So it's I was not too worried about them at first. And then when he put the Banechant, started thinking of putting the calculations in my head, suddenly that could do a lot of damage to that guy. Okay, so Pegasus is going to die. These guys are unlikely to survive, but they could, and if they do, that's going to be amazing. Everything else, I think, is going to survive okay. It's just they'll take some wounds. And that's exactly what happens. The Pegasus dies. 1 wound on this elemental, 10 on this Greater Fire Elemental. He's dash 18. So again, he needs 8s to break that guy. He doesn't get it. So good. No lucky breaks there for him. 3 wounds here. 5 on this guy. So pretty much what I expected. These guys take 11 wounds. So that they're dash 17. So he needs 6 twice. He gets it. So that's, again, 6 twice is quite doable for him to fail, but he doesn't. So instead, he gets to reform, face the center, and threaten a lot of things suddenly. But he's made his big commitment. Now it's my turn to try to counterpunch. Let's see what we can do. Bottom of 3. So, let's go back. This Silver Breeze unit, they moved over out of his charge angle and just took a couple pot shots at my druid here. They failed to wound, so they're just kind of now positioned for rear charges. But I've got a horde of fire elementals right here, and I've got 2 sources of surge nearby. They can just pivot, move within an inch, so I should be in pretty good shape. So, like last time, I've got 2 surges I've got to set up. It says only 1 heal 6 available. I don't think that's quite true, because this one can cast 2 spells. So I've got a heal 6 and a heal 4. Unless she has to cast surge as well, which maybe she did. Either way, fire elementals move down. She's going to cast surge on them and push them into here. And then these earth elementals, you can't see them, but they're going to try to charge or get surged. They had to pivot more than 90 degrees. They're going to get double surged into the front of the Dracon horde here. I could go into the flank and do more damage, but I'm less interested in doing damage. I just want to get in front of them, cause a wound, take their flying away, and just ground them here, instead of letting them run rampant, flying into the flanks of my units, right? These fire elemental will go into the king, greater fire elemental into the horde. These guys, I don't know what to do. I had to move this druid back behind them in this corner so that she couldn't get charged by the Silver Breeze that was over here. I don't want them to have line of sight. So these guys are just stuck. Great, the fire elemental horde into the Gladestalkers. They're already wounded. That's great. It's a little bit of danger here. This greater fire elemental, maybe 5 or 6 wounds. I think these guys are 14, 16, 15, 17. They're inspired. It's quite possible this guy may not kill these Gladestalkers, and then potentially he could get flanked by this cavalry horde, or a cavalry regiment, which would destroy him pretty handily. Again, Thunderous 2 and the Brew of Strength in the flank, not good. Over here, I kind of had a choice to make. This guy's got 10 wounds on him. I could try to heal him with my 1 heal 6, but instead I kind of figured I would sacrifice him. I would double charge the Palace Guard between the 2, hopefully kill them. Then I would turn and offer a side charge to this Dracon Rider, and hopefully he would just charge the flank here, kill this greater fire elemental, and then I'd have some way of dealing with him. I don't know what that was, but we're going to sacrifice this guy and heal this guy up instead, because I think if we try to heal him, he's still just going to get nuked, I think. So that's the plan. Oh, I put a little note here. I had used a token to mark something as being hexed, I think, and somehow it fell off or got... So for a little while, there was a little bit of confusion on where the objectives were. There's one somewhere in this region. Not a huge deal, but... yeah. So how's this going to work out? Well, pretty good overall. I can't complain. I'm pretty happy. So the big fail was this front charge here. No wounds on the Dracon Riders. So this horde is free to do whatever. 9 attacks, hitting on 4s, crushing 1. I didn't get anything. It happens sometimes. So that's going to be unpleasant. We killed the king. 5 wounds on this horde here, which is good. Healed this guy down to 1 wound. Excellent. We did kill this regiment of Gladestalkers, so he's faced to the side here, so they can't flank him anymore. We killed this regiment of Gladestalkers. We did kill the Palace Guard. I'm not sure why those are there anymore, because we're not doing that, but I did, like I said, I turned so that this guy is in the flank, and he can just kill him. And we killed these guys down here, and face back up to the top. That's the token showing that they've got the Helm of the Drunken Ram. So there are my hittier of the units. So overall, despite this little flub here, I can't complain. The turn went as I needed, and it was a big turn for me. So there was a little bit of decision making on his part. I think he made an error with these guys. Ultimately, between the building and the Greater Fire Elemental, he couldn't fit the regiment through. I can't remember if he could see these guys, if he was in the flank of these guys. He definitely was in the flank of these guys, but he couldn't fit in. But he didn't charge the fire elemental or the earth elementals here. And he didn't charge the front here. Said he just sidestepped. Maybe thinking this guy was going to die, and next turn he'd have some options. He took the Drakon Horde. He could have charged the flank here, I think. It would have been just not quite corner to corner. But instead, he put these guys, the Silver Breeze, into the flank, and he flew these guys into the flank here to kill the Greater Fire Elemental, which I think they have a very good chance to do. The Sea Guard is going to keep grinding away with the Greater Fire Elemental, and we'll see how that goes. So the Silver Breeze into the flank of those Fire Elementals, not going to do much. Probably should have done more than 2 wounds, but I mean they're dash 17, so they were going to be fine. He does kill both these Greater Fire Elementals. He rolls very poorly here, and only does 3 wounds on the Greater Fire Elemental here. So he's only at 4, so he's fine. My die marker here says 7 wounds on these Earth Elementals, which they should still have 1. So I'm guessing it must have been bumped. So they're back up to 7 now. A little boon, maybe some magic spell, really nuked these guys. But, okay, so we got that. Killed him. I still think I'm in pretty good shape here right now. Heal 6 Druid, Super Druid, and regular Surge Heal Druid on the left here. Bottom of 4. So, if you look, I think I can move and pivot 6 inches with these guys and then do another double surge and maybe get in the flank of this guy. So that's my counter for him. This is a scary unit. Between a horde of fire elementals and the earth elemental regiment, I can give him I have a pretty good chance of, well, certainly wavering these guys, but maybe killing them as well. So, double charge here, move up and surge into the flank, as you can see. Yeah. So it's kind of weird, again, learning the surge rules. They've changed a bit over time. I am lined up in such a way that when I hit him, I will be flush with his side. So even though my leader point will be in front of the side, it still counts as a flank charge, as I understand. Because I'm not hitting just the corner. I'm hitting the flank on the side. Fire Elementals, countercharge the Silver Breeze. They're not inspired. They're squishy. That should go well. These guys finally have a little bit of room to reform, but they still can't do anything. Double charge here. Should be a good turn. Anything else I've missed? Nope. I think that's pretty good. So yeah, we wipe those guys. We do kill the Drakon Horde here. Again, we heal this Greater Fire Elemental back down to 1 and put another 5 wounds on the Horde. And, oh yeah, we do get that double surge off. We hit the Drakon Lord in the flank and kill him. So it's not looking good for the elves at this point. I didn't take a good picture of this turn, but we can summarize what happened. He charges in, hits these guys as 11 wounds. And just like on the other side, we said it needs a 6 to kill these guys, but this turn he does not get it. So unfortunately, these guys are in a lot of trouble. He again only does 3 wounds to this greater fire elemental. And I think this wizard just lightning bolted probably these guys. They had 3 before, yeah. He's just trying to put a few more wounds on them and see if he can get a lucky break roll, but not at that point yet. 11 wounds. Rolled 3 to rout. Yep. Unfortunately. So, since they were up here, they're in charge range of this other group of elementals. I just moved the earth elementals out of the way. Double charge those guys in, which kills them. And now I can double charge with my group fire elementals and greater fire elemental into those guys. Wipe them out. And at that point we called it a game because, I mean, it was pretty much done at that point. So, into turn to bottom of 5. I had 4 at the bottom of 5. There was one objective over here, which one of these guys could have gotten, and the other objective over here, which in a turn of surge I could have gotten. So, thinking of it from a tournament perspective, I think I could have maxed out my points there pretty well. Lessons learned. Hex, I saw a couple armies with it at the tournament a couple months ago. This is the first time I've seen my alpha opponent take it, but from my tiny sample size, I'm seeing it more often, and it makes sense. It's a useful spell, useful item, and there are some armies, like mine, that are very dependent on magic, and putting hex on things can be very effective in shutting some of that down. So I assume I'll be seeing more of it in the future. One of the reasons I take the greater fire elementals, I mean, they're great anyway, but they do normally allow me to hide my druids behind something, mostly to stay away from like lightning bolt from mind screeches and things. But in this particular case, that wasn't effective because you got a creature that's tall and on a hill that can just keep hexing me. This is my first time, I think, using double surge, and it really made a difference. I think the first time on that wizard, I think that may have just been either an oversight or an error on my opponent's part. So I kind of capitalized on that and got lucky. It really did pay off the second time, though, flank charging that Drakon Lord. That was a long ways off, and he was already kind of aware of the surge after I'd killed the wizard, and then I surged and killed those Silver Breeze cavalry. So he was very much, by that point, looking for surge, and I don't think between them moving up 6 and then being double surged, that was a lot of distance covered. So I was pretty happy with it so far, and we'll keep playing around with at least 2 sources of surge in the future. While this was a decisive victory for me, I still think I'm very vulnerable to flanking and alpha striking with this slow list. I've got a couple options, mostly involving adding speed, but I don't know if that's the right way to go. I'm seeing a lot of people take air elementals. They certainly have speed. They don't hit super hard, and if I'm rushing them out, they're pretty expensive. So are they rushing out to win a fight? When they run out, they're not inspired anymore unless they take a unicorn or something. So that takes a much different approach. Do I take the formation and get several, or just take like a couple small regiments as chaff? And if I'm taking chaff, I could maybe instead add another Pegasus. I think I worked it out, and I could drop a horde of fire elementals and in exchange get another earth elemental regiment and a Pegasus. So now I've got 2 Pegasus for chaff, another earth elemental regiment, which they're not incredible, but they're pretty solid. Like in this fight, I don't think I lost any of them. They just kind of steady and dependable, except for when they charge the Dracon horde in the front and don't do any wounds. But we won't talk about that. In other armies I take, ranged pressure is an option, like, catapults or lightning, some kind of shooting to force the enemy not to set up the perfect alpha strike. It's not really much of an option for nature. I mean, I could put in Naiad Heart Piercers, but they're not super long range. Lightning unicorns, but then I had to take away from the heal, which makes me more vulnerable to shooting. And as we saw in this fight, realistically, even with not his whole army shooting at me, they put 7 wounds on an Earth Elemental regiment in one turn pretty easily. And while they survived, they very easily, he could have rolled 8s twice and wiped them out. So healing is pretty important. If I start putting in lightning instead of heal, suddenly I can't recover from those very effectively. Originally, when I started messing with Force of Nature, I had 2 hordes of centaurs, but they take forever to paint. I don't like painting, so I've been doing other stuff. And realistically, this army has been working okay. So I don't think the centaurs are the option. I think I'm going to try this option here. Add another Pegasus and drop a Fire Elemental Horde. I have another Earth Elemental Regiment painted up, so I have 4 of them now. I do have enough air elementals to make the formation. So 2 hordes and a greater air elemental. Those are pretty easy to paint up, so I may dabble with them a bit too. I don't know, going all the way back. I mean, I end up dropping 2 hordes of fire elementals and adding 2 hordes of air elementals. Probably swap out one of the greater fire elementals for the air elemental. And then I guess I would drop the Pegasus and I would turn one of these into a unicorn to move along with them and heal them, I think. I have to mess around with the points a bit because the formation is more expensive. But I think dropping the Pegasus and dropping the Drunken Ram Helm would probably be enough. I don't know if that's better, but it's certainly an option. So we'll play around with both, and we'll see which one I like more. But that's the way we're going. Thanks for listening. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are as well. Do I just take the one more piece of chaff, or do I go all in with air elementals and try to make something that actually can hurt things? Am I trying to win the fight, or just hold it up and let the fire elementals do the damage? I don't know. And is this too much heal? I've seen a couple other options with people setting up armies. This is more heal than I typically see, but it doesn't seem excessive. I don't know what else I would run. I think 3 sources of inspiring is appropriate. I could just go with a regular druid and save points, but I don't know where would I put those points. Would I get much more out of it instead? I think this is a pretty solid core, so I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. And thanks for listening.